Within this unit, I would like to discuss the general topic of sexual issues within pastoral counseling. The complex sexual wilderness that society now finds itself within means that pastors need to have a good sense of the role of sexuality within the lives of people. But even more importantly, the role of the power of God's love in people's lives. For God's saving work can transcend the great brokenness of this world. So we always have the responsibility as pastors to hold out the promise of God's love and grace in the midst of the brokenness of life. Every pastoral counselor will encounter persons who need healing from the agonizing memories of sexual traumas. Those who are involved in counseling must deal with the ministry of memory healing and therefore must be adequately prepared to deal with the sting and the stain of these sordid memories. It is not an easy ministry. We cannot truly help such people from a distance, protected by the armor plating of the pulpit, any more than we could lift someone out of a cesspool without getting our hands dirty. No secrets are more carefully guarded or deeply buried in the dark cellars of the soul than sexual secrets. I'm constantly amazed when people say, "I've never shared that with anyone before." And I wonder how they kept their sanity and how, at last, they found the incredible courage to risk telling it. Here is where pastoral counselors must cultivate the art of empathetic and active listening. After long experience, some pastoral counselors develop a sixth sense that something which is sexually painful needs to be shared with by the counselee. But we must be extremely careful to probe gently, to suggest, to encourage, to lead, and to ask gentle questions without prying. We know what they are going to tell us, but we must not tell them we know. We must assure them it will be all right if they tell us, and that we will accept them if they do or if they don't. And this is done more by an attitude of spirit than by direct statements, because people can sense our attitudes. Now, what will help bring people over the line where they're able to share? When they can sense that we are suffering with them. We watch and pray within our mind during the counseling session. We wait and pray. We listen and pray. We probe and pray. But we do not push and pry. It's supremely important that the client freely choose to share with us. In doing this, they've begun the process of healing. Once they say something aloud, in our presence, they can never deny it as fully to themselves again. They have offered a very important part of themselves to us that deserves our most tender and empathetic handling. There are many reasons why sexual memories can be so painful. First is that our sexuality is at the very heart of our identity. Our masculinity and femininity is deeply wrapped up with who we are and how we view ourselves. Damage to this area is bound to deeply affect our self-esteem. The second reason is that sex is such a powerful emotion. It is so strong that God's plan allows several years of growth and development before the onset of puberty. In this way, our bodies and our emotions become mature enough to handle these powerful feelings. So one of the most terrible facts is the child abuse that can occur that exposes the child to this power before they are developmentally able to handle its power, causing serious sexual and psychological trauma. Perhaps the most important reason why sexual memories are so painful is that sexual feelings can be the most contradictory emotions we humans can experience. We need to help counselees understand their own confusion and turmoil over their sexual traumas. What they've undergone can result in their experiencing sex as an incredible combination of desire and dread, pleasure and pain, fascination and fear. In one and the same emotion, we can find a contradictory combination of compulsive longing and overwhelming guilty contempt. This is why unhealed sexual traumas carried throughout life can cause so much terrible inner conflict. The pastoral counselor must therefore be in a place where they can openly hear, engage with, and explore through the client's leading these sexual issues. In all of this, it is naturally important to engage in supervision under another experienced pastoral counselor to help guide you in your engagement with the client. There must also be the recognition when the problem may be beyond your competency level, and you need to refer the client. It is therefore essential to always have a good list of specialized professionals to refer the client to, in order to ensure that they receive the care that they need. In all of this, we must recognize that God still loves the counselee, and that the cross is for this person, just like it is for you and I. Within this lecture, I would like to take some time and give pastoral counseling a context. By this, I mean that pastoral counseling is different from other types of counseling because there is a specific context within which it is located. It is located in the place of God's love and is acutely aware of the love of God. The reality that God loved the world so much that while we were still sinners, Christ came and died for us frames everything that we do. This is extremely important because it provides a context for both meaning and hope. First, it provides a context for meaning because it recognizes that God has ordered the universe and has a loving disposition towards His creation. He loves us. This means that we belong to Him not based upon our own works or effort, but simply because He is God and loves us. We are bonded to Him, and it is a place where we can live and be responsible to God. This provides a context for meaning because we have a reference point for discovering meaning in the little everyday activities that we do. It also means that the larger ultimate meaning exists, but that we will not be able to grasp it. Yet we can trust that the God of the universe that loves us knows this ultimate meaning and has everything work for the ultimate good. This then provides a context for hope, that even when human efforts fail, when we are faced with the unfixable moments of life, we do not need to despair. We can still look forward into the face of the abyss, and though we may not see the meaning to be found therein, we know that God holds the meaning. that God gives us hope so that we can move forward with an attitude of taking suffering and bearing it with dignity and courage. This ultimate hope is then something that we can look forward to in the fulfillment of Christ's promised return, resurrection, and redemption of all of creation. We must not ever underestimate this situation, for this provides a context for meaning to bear up under suffering and hope to face even death itself. This is important for the very basic being of the person. So I would like to talk about how temporality plays into this understanding of how people function. For hope is essential for the functioning of people, and it is the core of the very being of an authentic person. In order to understand this discussion, we need to begin with the issue of temporality. In order to live a meaningful life, we need a context for meaning. This comes from a narrative that ties together our past experiences and stories, our present work, and our future orientation. It is in essence us projecting ourselves into the future, and every moment is a moment of throwing ourselves forward and hoping for the best. It is a choice to engage the world, knowing the unpredictability of the world. And this is essentially the core of what being is. Throwing ourselves into the future. And this is something that the work of philosophers like Martin Heidegger have borne out to be true. So when we think of pastoral theology of counseling, we must begin its study by including the love of God, the concept of hope, and the reality of human temporality. In this, our first building block is time consciousness, a foundational ingredient of the existential context in which we live. Human beings are multi-tensed, which does not refer to being stressed in numerous ways, but rather that we have a past tense, a present tense, and a future tense. Authentic existence includes accepting the givens imposed by time past, living with the freedoms provided in the present, and shaping the possibilities that the future presents. Now, traditionally, when Christian thinkers have interpreted Paul's trilogy of faith, hope, and love to dimensions of time consciousness, they have often related faith to the past, love to the present, and hope to the future. This, I believe, is too simplistic because all three spiritual dimensions have their place in and connection with each time dimension. Hope is rooted in the past because we remember the mighty activities of God and our personal encounter with Christ through the work of the Holy Spirit. Hope is empowered in the present as it energizes and motivates us to live so that God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Theology views time not only in the historical sense of past, present, and future, but also in the relation to the activity of God. In Christological formulations, we express that past promises and future fulfillment have somehow come together in the person of Jesus the Christ. God acted in a present moment of real time, which is the Christ incarnation event, which now lies in the past, but has changed the course of human possibility. Our future is open in a new way because of the advent of Christ. The realm of God was activated in the past and is here in the present, yet its completion is out in front of us in the not yet. Within the context of temporality, the future dimension of time consciousness makes a unique contribution to the human enterprise. Hope, based upon God's love, is primarily attached to our consciousness, our conscious and unconscious projection toward, expectation of, and investment in the future tense dimension of conscious awareness. This means that we have an ultimate eschatological hope that is based in the love of God and the person and work of Jesus Christ. This is very different from a future orientation that is based upon a simple past and present of human experience, for that does not lend itself to the dynamics of future hope. True, we recognize that we will die. In this way, our choices in this life are important, for it helps us write the story of our life. However, we have a hope that is one where all meanings come to completion. Our eschatological hope, based upon the love of God, means that the future dimension of finitude is less fixed. But the dimension of time that provides the potential for growth, development, and being is fertile. Within our future projections exist the content and the end settings of our purposes and meanings. This future lends itself to the nurturing of hope in the love of God, rather than the despair of life that is devoid of the awareness of God's mercy and grace. As such, it is always important to remember the role of pastoral counseling in the context of God's love. For despite the errors, sins, brokenness, and despair that the client may be facing, God loves them. Christ has died for them. We must always remember that we are called to be motivated by love, and this must frame all that we do within the pastoral counsel.